for number three for me is the scene where Gandalf basically kicks out Saruman out of Theoden's head,
Yeah,
like that whole scene in the
Mm.
hall.
that's good.
No, I love everything about it. Like when Grim was like, "I told you to take his staff,"
Yeah,
and
that's
shit's
classic.
about to go
I
down. Just
told
basically
you
that
to
whole scene
take.
I
Yeah.
love. And then Theoden opening, like reawakening and saying like the transition, like great visual effects.
Yeah, big
Yeah, so
180.
that's my number three.
Oh, that's a great moment for sure. I love that scene too. I despise Worm Tongue, but he's still a character you feel bad for there. But in that moment, he has a pretty funny line there with "I told you to take the wizard staff." That's classic. Yeah, no, and up until that point too, Theoden's just basically a waste of space in a throne, basically there. So
Yeah.
we get to see what he can do as a leader from that moment on, and you basically acquire a huge ally moving forward. So that's a big get for the squad for sure. Um, yeah, I can go into my pick now. Like Justin said as well, I loved about this movie that we get a bunch of different storylines and groups that we're following throughout the movie. And I think you alluded to a few of the groups, so I'm gonna hone in on one, especially at the end there. You're talking more about Merry and Pippin, their escape from the Uruk-hais and orcs. That's one of my favorite scenes. That'll be my number three moment when they get into the forest of Fangorn and they get the orc Grishnak to follow them into the woods, and that's just a little bit of so there's some tension in that scene too, a bit of a rush to see if he's gonna get them or not, and ultimately then we get Treebeard introduced as the savior, so that's a nice moment. But the reenactment of their escape at the camp is what I love the most. Like that's an interesting storytelling device where it looks like Pippin got crushed by the horse of the Rohan, the riders of Rohan, the Mark, and yeah, it's a solid different way of telling what happened to the hobbits, and I'm a fan. It's my number three. Um, yeah, I think we covered it already. There, I can just go on to my next one. So number two would be, this extends also to Return of the King, but for Two Towers, basically every Smeagol Gollum internal conversation just kills me every time, and Andy Serkis is a phenomenal actor that needs to be in every single major film series, and he pretty much is. But Gollum is definitely the one that put him on the map, I think, in terms of motion capture acting, especially. And yeah, there's a bunch of classic interactions between the two of them when he's talking to himself there. Like, you don't have any friends. There's just some good comedy in the delivery between Gollum telling Smeagol that he needs him, and the only reason he survived is because of Gollum. But Smeagol is now seeing that there could be a possibility of life with his new friend and master Frodo. And yeah, I like that dynamic. I think when we watch Lord of the Rings, Two Towers, and Return of the King, my mom is not a fan of the Frodo storyline, so that basically gets fast forwarded every time. But when I can be alone, or we watch the Smeagol Gollum scenes there, but Frodo Sam is just that gets the skip. But it just goes to show how much of an impact Smeagol has in every single scene. He steals the show, in my opinion. So that would be
Yeah,
my number two.
definitely.
It gets the skip. What do you mean?
Yeah, it gets fast forwarded. That's just how she
Oh,
goes
God,
sometimes.
Yeah, I understand. They're a
When
long
we
movie.
we've seen the movies so many times, right? And
Yeah.
it's a 3.5 hour commit. I mean, I love Two Towers, but and it's not my call at the end of the day. So
There you go.
um,
Okay, my number two is the scene where like Merry and Pippin have convinced Treebeard to like walk them home, passing close to Isengard, and then Treebeard emerges from the clearing and sees all like the cut down trees, and he gets freaking furious, and he's like, a wizard should know better, and then he roars or whatever you call that, and all his buddies come and they attack Isengard. Epic moment. The music is perfection, like
yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that moment definitely was really what turned the favor in terms of the Fellowship and their fight against Saruman and Sauron's army at the time, because they were trying to get Treebeard and his Ents on their side. Obviously, given their physical strength, they'd be able to take anyone on, but they didn't want to get involved because, like Treebeard said earlier to them, like, no one's on his side, or no one's on the Forest side, so we're not going to involve ourselves in the fight of men and orcs. And as long as Pippin and Merry themselves weren't orcs, that they weren't going to kill them, which I know I said earlier, they figured that out. But I think definitely that was the pivotal moment in terms of helping them win that battle. But good choice there, Matt. I definitely agree and really like that scene. Sorry, Eric, maybe to take it from you, but I'm going to transition into my
Giver.
Yeah, I don't know if this maybe is my second favorite scene of the whole movie, but I think it's definitely, it helps develop the Smeagol-Frodo relationship, and that is when they're in the Dead Marshes. And for the life of me, I have absolutely no idea why Frodo decides to stare into I think it was, I feel like that was maybe a former king. I'm not sure if that was a human or elf, but he just is drawn to this character. And Smeagol Gollum tells him, like, whatever you do, don't go in there, because you're gonna die if you go into the water. Just like stay on the marshy part. Decides, whatever reason, hey, I'm drawn to this guy, and then all of a sudden the character opens his eyes and he falls right into the water, and you see sort of all the spirits coming to get Frodo. He's completely freaked out of his mind, and then he's saved not by Sam but by Smeagol. Mm-hmm. And Smeagol basically reminds him, like, what are you doing? Don't do this. Mm-hmm. And I think that really helps sow the seeds of Frodo trusting Smeagol way more than he should. And Sam, obviously, he was completely aware, like, you can't trust this guy. Like, he's a murderer. He's off. All he cares about is the ring. But I think Frodo sort of empathized with him because he realizes how much power the ring truly holds over Smeagol, and how he's sort of tasked with carrying it. It sort of becomes his burden. So I believe that sort of strikes up that relationship between why Frodo trusts him so much. And I think throughout the movie, I think you even can tell, because Sam refers to him as Gollum all the time, and he refuses to call him Smeagol because he's not him anymore. Like, this is who he is. He's gonna, like, deceive you. He's gonna trick you because all he cares about is the ring. But Frodo refers to him as Smeagol, as to what he once was, and he believed that there was still some good or something to be saved within him, and that there was more to him than just him wanting the ring. So I think that the Dead Marshes scene definitely captures that moment very, very well, and it's sort of a nice little breakup from what was going on with the rest of the Fellowship and what they were doing.
Yeah. Oh, I like it. It's a good take on the scene. And to be honest, like, when I'm talking about scenes we normally skip that one, but that's an interesting point in that Smeagol, like, Frodo begins to trust Smeagol as of that point a lot more and sees the good in him. You covered it really well there, and it's good stuff.
Yeah. And then I guess my number one scene, we're shooting it back to me, or what do you guys? Yeah. Perfect.
Keep it going.
So I feel like this might be a universal one for all of us, but I think definitely when they're fighting, they're backed up in the tower, and they turn, I believe it was to the east at dawn. They see the sunlight coming in, and they realize, we've survived this long. Gandalf told us that to look here at this time, and I think by then, the music, of course, sets it up. They realize, you know what? They don't obviously know that there's help coming, but they're like, you know what? We're not just going to sit here and cower. We're going to defend to our last breath, and we're going out swinging, essentially, and just seeing everyone come out. They're riding horses. They're taking orcs down, and then obviously leading to the Riders of Rohan eventually coming back. And and helping and aiding them definitely turned the tides for sure. So easily favorite moment of the Two Towers.
Going down that
Yeah,
steep
it's-
hill on horses, no problem. But anyways, yeah,
No,
that's
it's not. It's not that steep. If you rewatch it, it's not that bad. I've analyzed that scene because
I can see
I
that.
thought the same thing. It's not that steep.
No,
And
was
that's
looking
my
at,
number
like,
one scene.
Yeah.
No, go ahead, Justin.
Sorry, no, I was just going to agree with actually with Eric, but to your point as well, Matt. It was very steep, and I was like, I know once again, should I be nitpicking? But man, that is like, how are they not just automatically like tripping over themselves? I mean, we see Frodo do it all the time on uphill, downhill,
there we go.
wet
No,
ground,
no.
soft ground, all that. So
Okay, listen. We can run as humans. We can run down a steep hill, but these are horses. They have 4 legs. They're fine. They can run down the hill, no problem. But sorry, this is my it's my favorite moment as well. And only Aragorn knows that Gandalf may or may not show up. So like when he looks around, and then you have that perfect music cue, like probably in the whole series, and then you see Gandalf pop up, and then Éomer right after. Epic. It just sends chills through my body, and right, I was gonna say something else. You distracted me with the whole hill concept. Yeah,
My
but no,
bad.
it's the best part of the movie. It's
Yeah.
just it's great.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote down the Battle of Helm's Deep so I can focus more on the battle itself than that moment, which is obviously a classic. I love when Gandalf the White rolls up with Éomer. Éomer is an unreal character in his own rights as well. We can discuss later as well there for specific characters and stuff. But yeah, the Battle of Helm's Deep holds up, I think, as one of the greatest cinematic fight scenes of all time, like large scale fights, battle scenes there. It's one of the best and always gets brought up as people's favorite scene in that movie there. So that's for a reason that it's my favorite and all our favorites as well. There's a lot going on there. Theoden's cockiness always stands out to me. Like he's accomplishing anything on the battlefield, just scoffing at Saruman's army. Like, is this it? Is this all you can conjure, Saruman? Just say, get out of here, man. The homie Aragorn's out on the front lines, leading by example. And another thing that kills me about Theoden is when they're falling back to the keep, and Theoden's behind the barricades, and he just yells at Aragorn through the door, like, Aragorn, get back here, and then shuts him out essentially there, and he's left to fight and hold his own exceptionally well. That's another thing that I love in Helm's Deep is the Gimli Legolas kill count debacle. There's the Gimli toss, just Legolas jumping on a shield and using it like a snowboard to just go down the ramp and snipe Uruk-hai at the same time there. It's just a lot of classic moments. There's a tearjerker too in Haldir's death. You know, it's got it all. Helm's Deep. You can't go wrong. That's the pick.